Hi everybody, today I will analyze the Will Smith slap in terms of what were the motivation drives behind it. So I will reference Maslow's hierarchy of needs, having just done 3 videos about it prior to this. Being at the Oscars for Will Smith is a matter of esteem. This is the ultimate platform for actors to be acknowledged and recognized for excellence in their field. He was also nominated for the Best Actor award and was a strong contender to win. The same applies to Chris Rock. To be invited to host the Oscars again is a nod to his competence and a feather in his cap. He gets to practice his craft of comedy in front of a large audience and millions of online viewers. So for Chris Rock, he does what he was paid to do. He proceeds to tell jokes, targeting largely the audience of actors and filmmakers. The tastefulness of the G.I. Jane joke in like of Jada's alopecia condition is not debated here. What is very clear though is that it was initially very well received by Will Smith. On seeing Jada's unhappy and unimpressed face and being in what is widely described as a toxic codependency relationship with her, he fears her disapproval and does a 360-degree turn, going into trauma fight response. For a brief moment, he takes Chris Rock out of esteem into a safety and security threat with that widely seen slap across his face. He further verbally abuses him with profanity. Now, Chris Rock is a human being. Although it wasn't visible to us, he could have been in a state of shock. He could fight back or flee. However, he stayed in self-esteem mode. He stayed in high self-regard mode. Many options were at his disposal at the time. He could have played a victim. He could have asked for support from the Academy. He remained calm and composed on the surface, did what he came to do, cracked a joke, and completed the announcement. So which drive was stronger for both men? Will Smith was motivated by toxic love and belonging needs in that moment, to the extent that he forgot his own self-respect, the respect of his peers, and the worldwide audience. Also, what should be remembered as a highlight of his career has been reduced to the few moments of his trauma fight response. This may affect future work prospects, and it is a sad day for all of us that grew up with Will Smith that our dear beloved Fresh Prince is in need of serious professional intervention at this stage. Chris Rock also needs some professional support. His ability to delay immediate gratification for support and or revenge and or consequences for what had happened to him speaks to a high degree of professionalism, a high degree of emotional intelligence and personal self-regard. He demonstrated that he chose to not respond violently. And if you delve into Chris Rock's life, you will see that this is a decision that comes out of self-work with professional support for him to not behave in a violent way as he had done in the past. I will take this opportunity to discuss strategies for social intelligence referencing the Will Smith slap. The first one is always for me bear hug and big heart, and I want this to be with reference to ourselves. It is very important that we practice self-love daily. We have to make a conscious effort to take care of ourselves physically, emotionally, mentally, and socially. This includes building and staying in healthy relationships. Bad things do happen to us. We do make mistakes in this area, but being loving and caring for ourselves helps us choose the path that affirms self-love rather than destroy it. Will Smith did not act from a position of self-love. In fact, some could argue that it could result in some degree of self-loathing. Buttons, as in who pressed my buttons. Another word for it is triggers. What are your triggers? For Will Smith, his trigger in that event was the look on his wife's face, the potential repercussions of invoking her dissatisfaction at the fact that his initial enjoyment of the joke could be seen as a lack of support for her. Now here's the thing about a button that is pressed or a trigger. The burden on this falls squarely on the person triggered and not the person that is the trigger, because what a trigger does is that it reveals unhealed portions of ourselves. You simply cannot blame the source of a trigger. You have to take responsibility for the fact that you had allowed someone to press a button to the extent that you behaved in a manner that was regarded as socially unacceptable. The blind spot. According to the Johari window, we all have a blind spot area. This is an area of ourselves in which other people know stuff about us, but we are just not seeing it. It is a blind spot for us. It's like when your mom says, this relationship is not good for you. We tend to argue with our moms. Now, they may be wrong. No, scratch that. Moms are generally exactly right. But when somebody repeatedly tells you, especially when they have demonstrated their love for you, when they repeatedly tell you something is not good for you, you may not even believe them, or you may not like what they say, but you have to take it as feedback. And what you do is you take it as feedback to enhance your own awareness, where it then makes you become more mindful, and you set out to try and see what the other person is seeing that you are perhaps missing. In psychology literature, they talk about having a blind spot buddy, someone who is going to keep it real for you 24/7 without sugarcoating. In professional development literature, they talk about having a critical friend, a friend who loves you enough to give you constructive feedback that enhances your growth and development. These are the buddies that can help us reduce our blind spot area so we can clearly see for ourselves what the best relationships are for us. Binoculars. A binoculars allows you to see something with magnification, and that is important. But a critical word is also the bi. Bi implies two. If we see something with magnification, and that is only our own perspective, our perspective could be blinded and our judgment clouded. Bi implies that we get to see the perspective of at least one other person. Now, when we are feeling a lot of distressed emotions, that is the time to gain more perspective than any other time. And the way to do it is obviously ask somebody, or to prevent yourself from acting in a way that you will regret later. And to have the foresight to think, what is the Academy's perspective right now? What is the audience perspective? What is Chris Rock's perspective? Seeing only one perspective can lead you onto stage and slap someone. Book, read the room. Social intelligence is about reading the room. Have a sense of occasion. Ask yourself, how am I impacting another person or another situation or another occasion? What is the appropriate response in any particular situation? There are well-established norms of behavior fitting a particular occasion for a reason. Now, the truth of the matter is we are not always going to get it right, but we should improve as we get older or more mature, or as we climb the ladder of success. It is definitely respectful for adults and role models to conform to the rules that keep us safe and progressive as a human race. Boundaries. Your loving partner cannot expect of you anything that belittles you and anything that will make you act in a violent manner on their behalf. If you are in a loving relationship, you can communicate about areas you disagree on. If your partner is getting up to slap somebody, if your partner swears at somebody more than once and you did not intervene in that, it's a red flag. I would want my partner to stop me from slapping somebody if they could, or at least to demonstrate some movement towards me to calm me down. I'm not putting this on the partner. I think Will Smith should take full responsibility for his behavior. However, it is telling that there was no attempt on her side to calm him down, to put her hand on his hand, or to give him a reassuring look that it's okay, we'll deal with this later. B is for boots, as in, let me walk in your boots. People often use the word shoes. Let me walk in your shoes and empathize with you. So let us for a second empathize with the condition of alopecia. It is traumatic for any person to have their hair fall out. Think also of cancer sufferers and the consequence of chemotherapy. In light of this, making jokes about anybody that is bald or fat or disabled is in questionable taste. And it all depends on the giver and the intention of the giver and the receiver and how it is absorbed and taken in. I always say, if someone's going to laugh at one of my problems or one of my flaws, I'd rather it be me. I'd rather go with a self-deprecating route. I can absorb it better than someone else putting it on me. However, this is an important B to know in social circumstances. You are going to be the knowing or unknowing butt of somebody's joke at some point in your life. I believe that for sure. Somebody's going to be laughing at you, probably behind your back. That was a challenge that everybody was laughing in front of her, definitely. It can be very demeaning, but I do want to take words to help me cope when people laugh at me. And I like the statement that I heard, and somebody said, when you laugh in the face of adversity, you become bulletproof. I sincerely wish you insulation against all your triggers, and I offer you the following advice as to what to do when triggered as a summary of this video. I recommend when you are triggered that you be still, that you breathe deeply, that you always behave from a position of self-esteem. self-esteem. Keep your self-esteem bucket full. Book, read the room, and if necessary, to become aware, journal whenever you are triggered so that you can overcome it. Since we're not always in control, try to get constructive feedback. Try to see things from a different perspective. In life, in all relationships, set healthy boundaries. And yes, indeed, may we all, in the most critical and most stressful of moments, find ourselves insulated against negative comments such that we can take the time to find an appropriate response. This is, after all, the hallmark of social intelligence and appropriate social response in all situations. I wish you everything of the best. Be well.